Balancing Two Worlds: Middle Eastern Parenting in America. Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into a topic that resonates with so many families: raising kids in America as Middle Eastern parents. This experience is about balancing the traditional values we grew up with while adapting to modern parenting approaches that fit the world our children live in. It's like trying to fit a Persian rug in an IKEA apartment. It's doable, but you might have to get creative. In this video, we'll cover the tightrope walk of Middle Eastern parenting in America. We'll explore the role of sacrifice, a cornerstone of our culture, and why our parents express it the way they do. We'll unpack how to reframe sacrifice as acts of love that resonate with our kids today. And finally, we'll navigate the bumpy, messy, but ultimately rewarding road of change. Let's explore how tradition meets modernity and learn how parents and children can bridge the cultural gap to create stronger, healthier relationships. This isn't about abandoning our roots, it's about grafting them onto new soil. The currency of love: sacrifice in Middle Eastern culture. All right, let's talk about sacrifice. In Middle Eastern culture, it's not just a suggestion, it's practically written into our DNA. It's the ultimate proof of love, the bedrock of our families. We're talking about parents who work multiple jobs so their kids can have the best education, who wear the same pair of shoes for years so their children can have the latest sneakers. It's about putting your own dreams on hold, sometimes indefinitely, so your kids can chase theirs. Now, this isn't just about material things. It's about time, energy, emotional bandwidth. It's about your mom staying up all night making you homemade kibbeh, even though she's exhausted, or your dad driving you to every single soccer practice, even though he'd rather be watching his beloved football soccer, for all you Americans. This deep-seated belief in sacrifice, it's woven into the fabric of our upbringing. It's in the stories our grandparents tell us, the proverbs passed down through generations. It's the unspoken language of love in our families. But here's the thing, growing up in America, our kids, they're navigating a different world, a world where individuality and self-expression are celebrated. And this clash of cultures, this is where things get interesting, and let's be honest, sometimes a little complicated. It's like we're speaking different languages of love. Our kids, they're fluent in the language of quality time, of open communication, of emotional validation. And we're speaking the language of sacrifice, of unspoken expectations, of "I did this for you, so you owe me," even if we never say those words out loud. And this is where the tension builds. Our kids, they start to see sacrifice as a burden, as a way to control them, to guilt them into following a path that maybe isn't right for them. And we're left feeling misunderstood, unappreciated, like our love is being rejected. But here's the key. It's not about right or wrong. It's about understanding. It's about bridging this cultural gap, about learning to speak each other's love languages. Decoding the language of sacrifice, why parents express it this way. Okay, so we've established that sacrifice is like the premium, unleaded, high-octane fuel that runs many Middle Eastern families. But why? Why do our parents express love this way? Why is it always about what they gave up? Well, let's rewind the tape a bit. Imagine your parents, growing up maybe in a small village, maybe in a war-torn country, maybe facing poverty or discrimination. Their childhoods were probably drastically different from the comfortable, privileged lives many of our kids have in America. For them, survival was the name of the game. Sacrifice wasn't a noble ideal, it was a necessity. It was how they showed love, how they protected their families, how they built a future for their children. Fast forward to today, they've immigrated to a new country. They're working tirelessly to provide for their families, and they're determined to give their children the opportunities they never had. And how do they express this deep, unwavering love? Through the language they know best, the language of sacrifice. They shower us with food, even if we're on a diet. They push us to become doctors and engineers, even if our passions lie elsewhere. They remind us of every single hardship they endured, not to make us feel guilty, but to emphasize the depth of their love and the magnitude of their sacrifices. But here's the thing, our kids, they didn't live through those hardships. They weren't raised with the same cultural script. So when they hear these stories, when they see these sacrifices, they don't always interpret them as love. They might see it as pressure, as guilt, as a lack of understanding. And this is where the communication breakdown happens. Our parents, they're coming from a place of love, but it's getting lost in translation. They don't realize that their words, their actions, are landing differently on their Americanized children. So what's the solution? Well, it starts with empathy. It starts with understanding that our parents are products of their own experiences, that they're expressing love the only way they know how. It's about having those difficult conversations, about explaining how their actions make us feel, about finding new ways to communicate love that resonate with both generations. Chapter 3, The Love Upgrade, Reframing Sacrifice for a New Generation. So, we've talked about the power of sacrifice in Middle Eastern culture, and why our parents express it the way they do. But now, let's get practical. How do we bridge this cultural gap? How do we reframe sacrifice as an act of love that resonates with our kids today? First things first, we need to ditch the guilt trip. Look, our parents sacrificed a lot for us, we get it. But constantly reminding us of their struggles isn't going to make us more successful. It's just going to make us feel like we can never measure up. Instead of focusing on the past, let's focus on the present. Let's show our parents that we appreciate their sacrifices by being present, by spending quality time with them, by listening to their stories without judgment. And here's a revolutionary thought. Let's start sacrificing for them. Let's cook them a meal. Let's offer to give them a massage. Let's take them out for a nice dinner and actually pay for it ourselves. Let's show them that we understand the language of sacrifice, but we're also fluent in the language of modern love. Now, this doesn't mean we have to abandon our cultural values. We can still honor our parents' sacrifices by working hard, by being successful, by giving back to our communities. But we can do it on our own terms, in a way that feels authentic to us. It's about finding that sweet spot between tradition and modernity, between honoring our past and embracing the present. It's about creating a new language of love, one that blends the best of both worlds. And this is where things get really interesting, because when we start to communicate love in a way that resonates with our kids, something magical happens. They start to understand, they start to appreciate, they start to reciprocate. They might not express it in the same way we do, but we'll see it in their actions, in their words, in the way they look at us. We'll see it in the way they embrace their heritage, in the way they pass on our values to their own children, but with a modern twist. Chapter 4, The Long Road Home, Embracing Change and Building Bridges. Let's be real, folks, change is hard. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and it rarely happens overnight. And when it comes to Middle Eastern families, well, let's just say we're not exactly known for our flexibility. But here's the thing, change is also necessary, especially if we want to build stronger, healthier relationships with our children. So, how do we do it? How do we navigate this minefield of cultural expectations and generational differences? Well, it starts with communication. And not just any kind of communication, we're talking about real, honest, heart-to-heart conversations. We need to sit down with our parents and explain how their actions make us feel. We need to tell them that while we appreciate their sacrifices, we don't want to live our lives burdened by guilt or obligation. We need to explain that love shouldn't come with strings attached. Now, this is where things might get a little bumpy. Our parents, they might not understand. They might get defensive. They might even accuse us of being ungrateful or disrespectful. But we can't give up. We need to keep talking, keep explaining, keep bridging that cultural gap. And here's the key. It's not about changing who they are. It's about helping them understand who we are. It's about finding common ground, about creating a new family dynamic that honors both our heritage and our individuality. It's about teaching them that love can be expressed in countless ways, through words of affirmation, through acts of service, through quality time, through gifts, through physical touch. It's about expanding their vocabulary of love. And here's the beautiful thing about change, it's contagious. When we start to embrace change in our own lives, it creates a ripple effect. Our parents, they see us living authentically, they see us thriving, and they start to question their own beliefs. They might not admit it, but they're watching, they're learning, they're evolving. And slowly but surely, they start to change too. They start to loosen their grip. They start to give us more freedom. They start to express love in new and unexpected ways. Outgrow a new legacy, building bridges of love and understanding. The role of sacrifice in Middle Eastern parenting is built on love, devotion, and a desire to provide a better future for the next generation. It's about ensuring our children have opportunities we could only dream of. However, adapting this value to resonate with children growing up in America requires patience, understanding, and a willingness to meet in the middle. Change does not mean abandoning cultural roots. It means finding ways to express values like love, sacrifice, and gratitude in ways that strengthen relationships rather than creating emotional distance. It's about blending the richness of our heritage with the dynamism of American culture, creating a tapestry that's both familiar and uniquely our own. To all parents, give yourselves time and grace. Your effort to grow, learn, and adapt is the greatest gift of love you can give your children. It's about building bridges of understanding, about creating a legacy of love that transcends cultures and generations. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share your experiences with balancing tradition and modern parenting. Let's learn from each other and support this beautiful journey of growth. Thank you for watching.